welcome. Can you hear me okay? Just good, okay. So we'll try to be as inclusive as possible with those of you who are online. And of course, with this particular training, the experience is here in the studio, but there's also the option and opportunity to be online. We've had people do whole trainings from New Zealand and the eastern states. And while I think it's lovely to be in person and there's the synergy of the group and the community that forms around having a common purpose and coming together, it's also an opportunity to participate if circumstances or geography make it difficult or impossible to be here in person. So we are going to begin with a little chanting of the Pranavam. The Pranavam is the Om mantra. You might already be familiar with it. The visual representation of Om is in the stained glass window just above my head. And this is a syllable from the Sanskrit alphabet. And you'll come to learn a lot more about the significance, the relevance, the origins, and the deeper meaning behind this particular spiritual practice, the chanting of Om, over the course of a year. So just as a brief introduction, it's considered to be the primordial or the first of the vocalized sounds, the first of the sounds that was expressed through divine voice and human voice, received by humans and became the first. So there's a couple of different perspectives on the origins of the Sanskrit language. From a scholarly perspective, the history of Sanskrit can be traced back through the movement of early people and language from the Middle East through the Indus Valley and down to India. However, from a yogic and Vedic perspective, this is another perspective on the origins of Sanskrit. It's a received language. It was received by the early sages who received this from their own inner or meditative experience. And what they received was not only a sacred language, the language of yoga, but an understanding of the nature of everything in this manifest world. So the sounds of Sanskrit are the sounds of nature, of the human body, of a world in motion, and combined into the phonemes, the single sounds combined into mantras, into words, into sentences, into stories, formed a language, and that language has a culture around it, the culture of the Vedas, the culture of yoga. So we're going to begin with this beautiful mantra, and I'm going to use this bowl to find our voice. So let's just start by sitting tall. This is F sharp, which is a note and a tone that most of us can find with our own voices. It has some depth. And with these Sanskrit mantras, we want to feel their resonance in our body. So we sit tall, we lengthen through the spine. We bring our attention inwards. We deepen the breath. Deep breath in. And sigh the breath out, a feeling of just letting go of any tensions you might be holding from the day, the week, the year, from life. And again, breathe in and sigh the breath out. And we start with a hum. Attention to the center of the self, the Hridayam Guha, the cave of the spiritual heart. Feel the breath rising here, and it's from here that the Om rises. Om. Om. We make this shift from engagement with the outer world to presence. Feel yourself here now. This is our starting point for yoga. Okay. So this is a training, the Roots of Yoga, that spans 1 year. And let me just share the screen. Okay. So, Roots of Yoga was previously called the Hatha Yoga Method, and the name was changed this year to reflect the scope of the training, which is a little beyond what we might know as Hatha Yoga, as it's practiced in studios today, to be part of a broader tradition that dates back into the millennia, thousands of years actually. So in this training, over 1 year, there is the option to do this for your own knowledge, or perhaps to deepen your own practice, or perhaps to bring yoga more deeply into your professional life, or perhaps to make your profession that of a yoga and meditation teacher. And so given that people come to a training like this with different aims, there's different levels of commitment. So if you opt for the full commitment, that's 500 hours. And then there's the lesser of 350 hours and then lesser of 200. And in Australia, the minimum training to register with Yoga Australia and work as a professional yoga teacher is 350 hours. So just for context, in countries such as America, the minimum is 200 hours. And that could be done in a couple of weeks in Bali. In Australia, it's 350 hours and 12 months of training. And when first putting this course together, I realized that 350 hours wasn't even enough for a foundation, given the depth and breadth of yoga and its history and its application. After all, the people that sit before us in a yoga class have a body that must be understood, a mind that we want to understand, a self that we want to understand, and we want to understand our context within relationship, within society and culture, within the world, within nature. And so it just kept getting a little bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think those of you that have done it can attest to the scale of the training, the resources you receive will last you a lifetime, I would think. So the purpose of today is just to come and be in the space, to meet me. I'm the creator of the course and the lead facilitator, and to meet some of the mentors and teachers here as well, who are graduates of the course, to ask any questions and to enjoy some morning tea. So there'll be time for questions, there'll be time for just seeing if this is a place and this is a program where you would like to invest your time and energy over a year. So the Roots of Yoga training, as I said, is a foundational course, but saying that, it gives you more than a foundation. You go beyond the foundation inwards and also extend this outwards. So this is only possible because of the duration of the course. In a short training, there's not that capacity to really integrate these concepts as deeply as you do over 12 months. For that personal and professional transformation to occur, it just takes time and commitment and a willingness to really examine our own way of being in the world, our own way of inhabiting our body, like we come to recognize the patterns of movement, of holding within our own bodies, the patterns and way we relate to the world, we come to recognize that in ourselves, and any negative patterns or tendencies, we slowly, incrementally, gently, over 12 months, work on transforming. And so that's what we mean by personal transformation. That's not something we can rush. And it's not always something that's easy, to be honest. And importantly, we come to see and recognize these patterns in others. And our role is to support others in their own journey of transformation towards wellness, well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So, why the name The Roots of Yoga? This was a discussion between myself and my daughter, who is 23, and she's also doing the training this year. So generally in this program, there's diversity in age, background. There tends to be a few more women than men, but of course, inclusivity is one of our aims. Ella has done this course, and you might have been the eldest in the training last year.
Probably not in the first year.
Yeah.
But it is mind changing. It is life, like you said when we began, it is life changing. Because you can't really engage with these deep scriptures from different cultures without it being changing. And without going deeper and deeper.
Yeah. And our life is always changing, is it not? It's just that we're mindfully engaging with a path and a tradition that is about our upliftment. It's about our well-being. It's about self-awareness and self-understanding, self-realization. And so that is the direction that we're changing towards, rather than negative change. So yes, it can potentially be life-changing. We become directive of the movement of our life and the changes that occur. Not to say that life won't take us by surprise, but it also gives us the skills and resources to navigate the challenges of life. So the roots of yoga provides us with that depth. We go deep beneath the surface, and that is where the tree receives its nourishment. And through those mycelial networks, information and knowledge about the world. So we have to go in, we have to go deep. And then what rises from that is, a magnificent, beautiful tree. And the tree has within it all of the knowledge of what it is to become. When a seed is planted into the ground, all of the knowledge is imprinted into that seed. And so it's just about the right conditions for that seed to sprout and grow into a magnificent tree. And so we're exploring beneath the surfaces to understand what those right conditions are. And we do this through an understanding of philosophy. And so yoga is a positive philosophy that isn't abstract, it's not overly conceptual. It is really about understanding the human mind. It's about understanding ourselves, the source of happiness, the causes of unhappiness. And with that understanding, yogic philosophy provides us with the knowledge to do something about it. And so essentially it's as simple as that. It is a practical philosophy that, when applied to ourselves, brings about a net result. And that net result is peace, happiness, self-understanding, well-being, lightness of mind, of body, and the way we move through the world. So philosophy. Meditation is at the heart of yoga. And this is often missed in modern yoga, given that modern life is about movement, momentum, ambition, doing, being someone of significance in the world or our society or culture or family. And yoga doesn't take away from that at all. It just shifts our sense of self to that aspect of who we are at the center of all of this. And then when we go into all of those roles and situations in life, we do so from a place of centeredness. And we don't get overly caught up in those roles that we have to assume and the outcomes as well. We know who we are. We know who we are. And of course, we're going to fall down and have to pick ourselves back up. That's the nature of life. And it doesn't matter how long you've been doing yoga, life will keep surprising you. But this gives us the skills and the resources to come back to the essence of who we are and to move through life with some integrity and with our sense of self intact. So meditation, breath also. Hatha yoga is a breath-centric practice. And if we can regulate and master our breathing, we regulate and master our minds and thoughts. So breath comes first. Anatomy, we have to understand the body. And we have one of Australia's best yoga anatomy educators who teaches you the specific anatomy component of this course. So that is done online over the course of a year with Jean. She's based in the eastern states. And there are 6 live workshops, anatomy workshops with her as well. And also one-to-one session with her, where you focus specifically on a practice that is right for you. So here in the studio, you learn about the yoga asanas, how to practice, how to teach, and that becomes more refined and nuanced through your understanding of human anatomy. And so 30 hours is dedicated to the online course, and in addition to that, there are these 6 online workshops. So I'd say the anatomy component probably equals around 60 hours. Would you think so? Yeah. Probably about 60 hours out of our 500 is dedicated to that. And of course, you become a practitioner of all of this. And so every month, there are practices assigned that you'll go home and do in your own time. And there are assignments that are really designed to help you inquire into the philosophies, to interrogate them a little bit, to question them. No one's suggesting that you just blindly accept everything that is said, that you really look into these things. And you do this primarily through your own meditation practice. You become your own experiment. And through written assignments, through the design of yoga sequences, meditations, and there's some personal assignments as well about your own journey in yoga. So there's a rich scope of assignments. Some of them might include drawing rather than just writing about things. We do ask you to draw, as an example, what the subtle body looks like. What does the subtle body look like? The chakra system, the nadis, and you'll learn the subtle body anatomy to the same extent that you learn the physical anatomy as well. And of course, you learn to teach, you learn to communicate, you learn to share. And this is done in studio through workshops, and it's also done through practicum, so you'll deliver a class. Those that are choosing the 200-hour pathway don't need to do a teaching practicum. But even if you're not intending to teach, it's an incredible process to go through this. It really helps with confidence, and the way to really embed what you're learning is to share it with others. What do you think about that, Danny?
Yeah, I started this course wanting to understand more on yoga, and I had debilitating anxiety about getting up the front, but I pushed through that, and on the other side was an incredible amount of personal growth, and it's definitely changed my life in every way.
Yeah.
So I would say do what you can, do as much as you can, because you never know where that path will lead you. It's easy to say, I wasn't given the 200 option actually.
No, we didn't do that then.
I had to do 500 and that was the end of it.
Yep.
And I'm glad that I did, because I would have opted out of teaching a practicum because I was extremely anxious, to the point of extreme anxiety about teaching. And now I'm able to teach, classes daily. Yeah.
Yep. So like I said, the transformation that happens comes through that commitment, through understanding those inner patterns, understanding what anxiety is, where it comes from. That knowledge becomes power, and we come to have that capacity to become empowered from within. It's not an artificial confidence by any means, it comes from within. And when you come to a yoga class and you have a teacher that has that innately, you know that and you sense that. If there's doubt in the teacher's mind, if they don't really know what they're doing or talking about, you sense that too. And so this is why this deep integration and the personal component of the training is also so important. The banyan tree. So the banyan tree, to me, is beautiful. The first banyan tree I ever saw was in Calcutta, and I think that might be the biggest one in the world. And it's in the Botanical Gardens in Calcutta, and it's enormous. And the banyan tree has a lot of significance in India. It's a place of gathering, it's a place where people come together, it's a place of shelter. And the incredible thing about the banyan tree is its aerial roots. They grow down from the branches into the earth and form this network of what looks like trees, but they all come from the one. And to me, this is such an amazing symbol of what a teacher training can be, that we have the tree and the branches. You know, the tree grows, the branches go outwards, and then all these roots come back down to the earth and into the earth. And it's a little like, you know, the teacher training, and then this whole community of teachers over the last, I think 2020 was the first teacher training that we did, and now there is over 100 graduates of the various training courses here. It's like the branches going down, forming this, you know, ever expanding village of teachers and students and going out into the world. We don't have too much time today, but Trish and I were in India last year running a retreat in South India, in Tamil Nadu, which is where my own teachers are. And I go to the Ramana Maharishi ashram as often as I possibly can. It's not as often as I would like, so I think I might have been 8 times. Ramana Maharishi is in the picture just behind Trish there, above Trish's head. And he is considered to be one of the greatest of the contemporary sages. And he achieved realization as a 16-year-old and went to Arunachala, which is the mountain in Tamil Nadu, and never left it. He lived there for life. And he was known as the silent sage. He didn't speak for many, many years and lived in a little cave, very ascetic lifestyle, and asked for nothing, wanted nothing. And people were drawn to come to him. And when they did come to him and ask him a question, he would speak. And this is when he would speak. And whatever he said just came from this deep, deep well of wisdom. It came from deep silence and was profound. And much of what he said was recorded and written down and has formed the basis of his teachings and books. He didn't give any specific teachings formally, but just through this question and answer format. And a lot of this occurred under the banyan tree in the courtyard of what is now the Ramana Maharishi ashram. And I like to sit in that courtyard. I like to just be still and sit under the banyan tree. And we went there early to the ashram. They have the singing, the arati, and the chanting of the Vedas in the hall. And instead of going inside, we just went to the courtyard and sat under the tree, just in meditation. I was going through a very difficult time in life, and my mind was not very still. There was a lot of churning happening because of life circumstances of trauma. And we were there, and it was very quiet, and there was a brahmacharya, like one of the old ashram men, just in his white cloth, sweeping with a straw broom, sweeping the dirt, and very carefully just sweeping. So there was just the sound of the broom on the dirt, sweeping. And I looked up every now and then, and he was sweeping so carefully, like the leaves into a little pile here, the rocks a little pile here, going around the ants, not causing any harm or disturbance. And it was very calming to just watch him and listen to the sound of the broom. And I closed my eyes, the sweeping stopped, and I had a sense that he was standing right in front of me. And I opened my eyes and he was standing right in front of me. And he just said, I'm sweeping the ground, the dirt, I'm making it perfect, and I'm doing this on the outside. You need to do this on the inside. You need to do this sweeping on the inside. All these thoughts that come of family and different things, you need to sweep, so the ground of your mind is clear. He said other things too, but that was the gist of what he said. And then he went back to sweeping, and I closed my eyes and tried to do just as he said. And this happened under the banyan tree. So I feel like the banyan tree is a symbol of what a training like this can be, but also has significance personally. And those insights just come when you sit under the metaphorical or physical banyan tree. So this training is a little different from others in that because it's over this duration of time, there's the opportunity to go into the different aspects of yoga very deeply, not just the asana, the posture, which of course we give emphasis to because as a yoga teacher, you're going to be expected, most likely, to teach the physical component of yoga and what is understood to be a yoga class. So we incorporate meditation, philosophy, and yogic living. We talk about what it is to live an authentic yogic life. And it doesn't mean that you have to remove yourself from everyday life. This is an inner transformation that happens. And as I said, there's flexibility, and there are also teaching pathways, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move through this. So who can do this training? Well, you probably don't like that photo, Danny.
I don't. I know that's why you looked at me.
But yes, so this is Michelle and Caitlin and Danny and Kylie, who are teachers here or who have been in recent times, and graduates of the training. So anyone can do this training. You might wish to just deepen your practice and understanding of yoga. As I said, you might want to teach, you might want to incorporate yoga into your professional life or family life. You might want to understand philosophy a little more, and you might just be curious. You don't have to have an ambition to be a teacher. So the curriculum journey, so over 12 months, there are 10 modules. So there's 12 weekends where we come together and one introductory workshop. And over the 10 weekends that are dedicated to learning, we call these modules 1 to 10. And modules 1 to 10 incorporate, so we don't just dedicate one module to asana, one module to pranayama, one module to meditation, one to yoga nidra. It's more integrative. It's much more integrative. So in each module, you're going to hear of something of yoga philosophy, the historical roots of what we're doing now, because there's so many myths in modern yoga. You might have heard teachers, teaching Surya Namaskar, salutations to the sun, saying this is an ancient practice. It isn't. It isn't even 100 years old. And so if you're going to be sharing yoga, you want to make sure that what you're saying is true and to understand where it actually comes from. So you're not perpetuating these myths and untruths that sound great but aren't real. So just because something is modern doesn't diminish how effective it is, but the way we talk about it is important. So we're not perpetuating things that just simply are not true. Every module incorporates some meditation, a little bit of chanting, mantra, like we were doing earlier, and practice. You get to practice asana in the studio. You come to understand, so there's also a lot of modern content as well as the philosophical and the historical. So you can really understand the nervous system, so you can understand the body, so you can understand the mind from modern perspectives. Because when we're talking about yoga, we can't use all of the old yogic terminology in contexts where people have no idea what a chakra is or what nadis are. It makes no sense. So we want to ensure that what we're communicating is accessible and can be received by people. So there's that integration of both historical and modern. You learn anatomy, you learn movement patterns, you learn about modern yoga, so hatha yoga, hatha vinyasa yoga, restorative yoga, even yin yoga we touch on, because these are all adaptations of yoga. Before, yoga was subdivided into all of these styles or categories. So this is your foundation, but how to apply it. If you want to teach a restorative class, what does that mean? If you're teaching hatha vinyasa, what does that mean? And how do we take this tradition of yoga and apply it? So that's what you learn in each weekend as well. So teaching skills, working towards your practicum. In addition to modules 1 to 10, we have 2 reviews. And so there's a mid-year review, which is in December, so not quite mid-year, where we go over the content. And, there's some discussion, there's some practical application, you have experience sharing with the group. There's, some questions about philosophy, there's time over that weekend to really delve into 1 or 2 of the poses, the meditation practices, the breathing practices, and to share that to the group. The final review at the end is a little different. There's also that capacity. There's a little exam, if you want to call it that. I like to call it a quiz. It's not so daunting. There's a quiz. And that's done in studio. It's open book. There's no big pressure to memorize difficult Sanskrit, because what's important is that you really integrate the concepts. And the final review includes a public performance that everyone on the training collaborates on. So instead of just teaching to each other, you can invite family, friends, and we might invite other people as well. And so there'll be a full room and you collaborate on this beautiful event. That might sound intimidating right now, but after 12 months, you'll well and truly be ready for that. And it's beautiful, isn't it? It's
my favourite part of the whole.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And so just working together, working in groups, and the autonomy is given to you. I provide a structure and a theme, and then it's over to the students to manage this whole event. And you'll be upskilled over the course of the training. Not only do you learn about yoga, you learn how to build a life around it. I used to work as a CEO, so I understand what it takes to be successful in the world. And I, for many years, worked in communications and marketing and have a degree in that. And so that is woven into the training too, like a little bit about how to make a business out of yoga if that's your inclination, and how to market yourself without, taking on a false persona, in the world of social media, to feel like you've got to conform to anything, to do it your way. You learn to be authentic. On this training, you're not going to be a clone of anyone. There's no scripts that you have to memorize written by, a distant teacher or a guru. What is shared with you comes through the filter of your own mind and who you are and what is relevant to communicate in your community. And so you're empowered to do it in your way and in your voice. So there's also a residential retreat where you stay here for 4 days, and that is early next year. And staying here gives you an opportunity to just immerse yourself without normal responsibilities, without communicating with the outside world. There's the option to just turn off your phone, to be here, and to just go with the rhythms of yoga, of study, of community living and life. And that's a beautiful experience too. It's not as ascetic as being in an ashram in India. You'll have a comfortable bed, there'll be cooling, heating, nice food prepared for you 3 times a day. And so it's not about deprivation of anything, it's about immersion. And so that's a lovely experience too. And that happens later on. And as part of participation, you're able to attend classes here in the studio at no charge. You're given a membership so you can practice with teachers here. And you also will have a mentor who is a graduate from the program. So that might be Danny and it might be Trish. So Trish will talk a little bit about mentoring, not right now, I'll let you know when. And others as well, so other graduates who have been through this program and who are now teaching, and kindly volunteer their time, because this is part of the evolution from student to teacher as well. So supporting others, giving back is part of this journey too. Right, so there's these 3 pathways. That is my daughter, who is doing the program this year, and 200 hours, which gives you that personal foundation, like if you want to do this for knowledge. And some people might start without the pressure of committing to 500 hours. But from my experience, nearly everyone works towards 500 hours. Nearly everyone does that. And 350 hours, like I said, is the minimum. So you'll still do the practicum, you'll receive mentoring. Everyone also has one-to-one mentoring with myself, and 350 hours, that's before your practicum. So this year you'll do the practicum here in the studio, which means that on a Wednesday night, you'll come here and you'll teach your whole 1 hour and 20-minute class, and you'll have support to design that. You'll practice it in your community, and following the practicum you deliver here, you'll need to do that 3 more times in your community, adapting it to your audience. And so you'll also be resourced to do that as well. And that might be to your partner, to your kids, to friends, or maybe to a community you're involved in. And so 3 times you'll do that as well. And with the 500 hour, you have more mentoring, and that can be business mentoring as well. And not only will you be fulfilling all of those practicum commitments, like in the 350 hours, but you will also design a workshop or a course, and you will need to deliver that in your community as well. So that's 200 hours. You don't have to teach, there's no pressure. 350 hours. So, so the community teaching that can happen once you've done your practicum, once you've taught 3 times in your community, you can then go on to teach community classes at the Perth City Farm. So they are looking to incorporate yoga into their program there, and this is an opportunity, especially if you live closer to the city, to have some practical experience teaching at the Perth City Farm. And that's Kate. She's one of our youngest graduates. I think she might have been 18, 19 when she graduated. Okay. So that's Michelle, one of our teachers here. And I think I've talked a bit about how the training is structured already. So mentoring. This is my mentor and teacher, Indra Mohan, who I try to see when I can in India. And to have people ahead of you on the path really means everything. Accountability is so important in yoga as well. You know, in an age where we can go out there and say anything and people will most likely believe it, accountability means a lot. Having a mentor, having support on the path means a lot. So I still go and study with my own teachers when I can. And having that humility, having that student mindset is what is required to be a teacher, actually. It might seem paradoxical, but forever a student, forever learning, forever being open, and forever being open to feedback as well, without the ego kicking in, is also important. And to have my own teachers question, why are you telling people that? Why are you saying that? Is important to me as a teacher as well, because it means that I reflect on what I'm sharing and what I'm teaching as well. Trish, do you want to come and just say something a little about the mentoring? I've got the microphone here, so you can just be close and then...
Right, so I'm a graduate from the year before, and with the mentoring, we will get a little group of people and a mentor. So your mentor will be available for you at any time. We usually have a little WhatsApp group and you can chat, you can create a bit more community with the friends within your group. And it's really good when you're doing your assignments and you get really stuck and you can ask your mentor a question and they can point you in the right direction. They're very supportive when you come to do your practicum, helping you with flows and poses and why you're doing things. Yeah, it's a really nice way to have that extra support.
Yes, very good, thank you. And Trish currently recovering from a broken foot.
Yes.
So nothing to do with yoga. Yes, so the mentoring program is, you know, a really important component of the program. In the first year that we did this, there weren't mentors because they weren't graduates. And I think it's really made a big difference to how people feel, especially if anyone's feeling a little overwhelmed with taking in so much new, trying to integrate it into life. Just having that steady support and, you know, that calm, steady voice to help you stay on the path as well. And so, yeah, so the mentoring. And the mentoring is quite autonomous. It's not, you know, I don't get involved in that. Like, it's just people who have been through the program, they know where you are, and it's just that relationship that's cultivated with people that are just that little further ahead. And you know, there's no question that is stupid in this either, none. And sometimes we can feel a little shy about asking questions because we're worried, you know, or think that we should know more than we do, or should be this or should be that. There's no shoulds, it's all okay. And so the mentors just help with that, for us to feel okay about where we're at right now. And on that topic, the way that assessments are graded is not like going to school or university. You're not going to get a score. You're not going to be marked. It's not competitive. Some people come to trainings like this, with a high school certificate. Some people might come with a PhD. And so one person's assignment is going to look very different to another. So it's not comparative. It's about where each person is at right now. And so that's a really important point. We don't look around and compare ourselves to others. That's not what it's about at all. Okay, so you learn a lot over a year. You learn a lot about Hatha Yoga. You learn a lot about Yoga Nidra and meditation and contemplative traditions and practices. You learn a lot about Tantra and Vedanta. You learn a lot about your own self, your body, your nervous system. There's a big emphasis on somatic awareness, on trauma, sensitivity and awareness in our languaging and what we're teaching as well. And you learn about subtle body practices. You learn about the ethics of yoga. And this is our foundation. We start off knowing what it is to be a good human being and to really apply those ethics to ourselves, to others, and the way we go about life as well. And of course, teaching skills, designing classes, and sharing this as well. There's an emphasis on that too. And so this is a little of the nature of what you'll study. This is a retreat in the garden. I think Tammy was there. That's Tammy in the green. And staying here is quite an experience, right? Yeah. So it gives us that depth. So the weekend immersions, there's also the option to stay actually. So I open up the property and the house so anyone that wants to stay can do so. And you just pay $50 a night. And if you don't want to go home, you have to go home at some point, but over the training weekends, if you want to stay, you can. So there's that option too. And this is the final dinner after the last training we did. So some of our beautiful, happy faces. And flexible learning. As I said, there's the option to be here, to be at home, to come to the content later. Sometimes, if you're sick or if you have commitments or you're traveling, perhaps you can't do a module that weekend, but in the month following, it's all live streamed, it's recorded, and it's uploaded to our website and in more bite-sized pieces. So each session will be a standalone video, and all of the resources are uploaded to the website as well. And so you have that access to that for at least a year following the training as well. So you can come back to any content as you wish to. So we have on this training some scholarships. We have 2 youth scholarships and 2 diversity scholarships. And so obviously for the youth scholarship, this is to make the training accessible for young people who might not otherwise be able to afford it. And diversity scholarships also are not just financially based, although that's a major factor, to make the training accessible to people from perhaps disadvantaged communities, minorities who might not have the resources or the confidence to do something like this otherwise. And so just, my way of just hopefully bringing yoga into spaces where it might help and support people in their work in their own communities as well. Is this training for me? Here's some of our graduates from, I think this was your year. I couldn't fit everyone in the photo, so.
Hopefully I'm Annabelle.
Yep, so here are some of our graduates, and yeah, that's very much up to each individual as to whether this training is for you. But yeah, hopefully it is, broad enough yet specific enough to personal transformation, to our personal aims. Whatever we do in life, yoga is a support for that. And a beautiful path. I am so grateful to have come to yoga as a 20-year-old and for this to be a guiding philosophy for pretty much my whole adult life. I'm so grateful for that. And, in my gratitude comes my commitment to share this with other people. And I'm not sure if that will ever end. I think while I'm alive, this is my Dhamma. That's Reese, another graduate. So what are you going to do with all of this information and knowledge and life-changing practice? So you might want to teach yoga. It might be to deepen your personal practice and for the love of study and learning. Like I said, being a student keeps our minds engaged and fresh and young. Ella's nodding.
It's true.
Yeah,
Just want to keep on learning and growing,
yeah.
and that shouldn't really end.
So as I said earlier, integrating yoga into existing professions, so helping professions, whether that's counselling, psychology, whether it is teaching or whatever it might be, just having these concepts and this toolbox of resources that we can bring in to our professional life. I know when I was working in an office space in a senior management position, just understanding people's motivations, understanding the nature of communication means that you can be non-reactive and more considered in what is said and more focused on, just working towards those goals or outcomes as well without getting caught in those interpersonal dynamics and that, often aren't even about what's being said in the present moment. Everything that we learn and inherit in early childhood influences what we think, how we respond to life, what we believe. And so there's a little unraveling of all of that and coming to steadiness through the practices that we learn. So it's continual. It doesn't end. And a lot of what we learn in yoga becomes innate and automatic over time. And that happens with repetition. It happens with depth and repetition. So, this training starts on the 1st of August and actually ends on the 31st of July 2027. There's the monthly modules, the one residential retreat, the practicum pathway. This is where you begin teaching, so that will happen from January, and the dynamic anatomy, the mentoring, assignments, your home practices, and then you've got the option of those 3 pathways, 200, 350 and 500 hours. So we start on the 1st of August, which means that if you are considering the training, you will want to ensure you've enrolled before that. In terms of numbers, in previous years, the first year we did the training was during the pandemic, 2020, and I think there were 40 people who did that one. It was a very big group in the first year, too big actually. And so in subsequent years, it has been about 25 people, and that is a good number. So around 25 people is probably the maximum capacity. in terms of mentoring, in terms of the commitment from our side, and also in terms of comfort for students as well. And that is a blend of people online and in the studio. So, you know, probably between 20, 28 people is the likely number of people who will do the training. It's always hard to know, but that is what I would say. And so there won't be any more than that. As you can see, it's a big studio, and there will be most likely 5 or 6 mentors as well. So in terms of payment, I think I've got some, oops, no, I don't have other information about that. Let's come back to that. There we go. So in terms of payment, there is the option to pay upfront, and then there is a discount with that. Or if you need to, you can have payment plan, and that can be up to 24 months. There's also the option for work exchange. And so this is where you contribute one of your hours for a training hour. And so people have offset the fees in that way before. And, you know, on a property like this, especially if you like being outside and gardening, I very much appreciate any assistance at that level. And so I'm happy to offset fees in that kind of way as well. And then, of course, there's the scholarships that are on offer as well. And so that's a little bit about payment. So the process from here is that you would book the introductory workshop. You can do that on our website on the 1st of August. There's a $200 application workshop fee. And if you pay up front, that's deducted from the overall fees. And fill out the application form. It's unlikely we wouldn't accept an application. The only reasons, well, it's very personal. Some people have great capacity to incorporate this training into a busy full life. Like we've had plenty of people who are parents working full time with lots of commitments, but life has a tendency to expand or contract when we have this flexibility and fluidity. And can take it in their stride, and other people can't for whatever reason. And so just, you know, being realistic about that as well. And so the application form, you know, ask some questions and personal questions. It's only me and Danny who would see that. And then it's unlikely that it would be declined. But if based on what is said in the application, or if you've never done yoga before, I have had a couple of people join the training, and I did let them join the training who'd never even done, like maybe done 1 4-week beginner's course with me and got very inspired, but then soon realized that that was too big a leap. And so that was back when it was 500 hours or nothing though. And so I've learned that giving people options is the better approach as well. And so, yeah, and so that is the process from here. So, any questions of me before I hand you over to Danny and Trish, who are going to talk a little about what it's like to go through the teacher training from the perspective of a student and how life is after graduation as well. So any questions? Tammy?
We took to book some flats in the December and the early January. Do we know what dates?
All the dates are on the website. Yeah, I will this afternoon. I'll send everyone who's enrolled. I'm guessing everybody has enrolled for this online. I'll send you all an email with the link and also the application link, so you've got that. But the dates are all on there.
Thank you, sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yep, no, that's okay. So, yeah, so all of the dates are there already.
Okay.
But like I said, if you have, prior commitments or life happens as it does and you can't show up, you could do it online if you're somewhere where you've got the time and space to do so, or you can come to the content later. Yep, so in December, like I said, we finish with a mid-year review. So there's a bit of a natural pause during January as well. So the idea is hopefully by, the end of the year, we bring all of that first work to completion. Ideally, it doesn't always happen. If you don't submit an assignment, before the next module, it's okay. Nothing terrible will happen. Sometimes people come back to assignments or don't submit them sequentially. So it's okay. Yes.
With the 500 hours, does that also include the at-home assignments and study?
Yes, it
So
does.
it's about 10 hours a week commitment on average.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I don't know about 10 hours a week. It's 350 contact hours.
Okay.
Yeah. And for some people are very committed and dedicated, and it ends up being much more than 500 hours. And some people do less. But it's, roundabout. But there's definite commitment required at home. And the practices ideally are something that you just integrate into daily life. You learn them here in the studio, and then you go home and practice it a little bit for the month. And in terms of the assignments, some people are very slow with doing readings and writing, and some people it comes more quickly. And so, it's a bit hard to say exactly the at-home commitment, but I will say there is an at-home commitment for the 350 and 500 hour pathways. Yeah. 200 hours, you can pretty much show up, participate, be here, and you'll get that certificate, which you can still actually teach with. But from the point of view of Yoga Australia, that's a provisional teaching certificate. The full level 1 comes with 350 hours. Yeah. Yes?
With the 200-hour program, so as you said, we'll be covering modules 1 to 10 in 500 hours. So are we going to touch upon all the modules in 200 hours as well, or
Yeah.
are we going to touch some foundational learnings in 200 hours?
No, the way this course works, you still do the full 12 months and you still have access to everything. It just means that you don't have to do the practicum, you don't have to do the teaching component, and you don't have to do any of the assignments. So you just need to show up and participate and receive the information, and all of those other commitments around that are not there. So you still receive the same, but it's more about what you are able to commit and bring to your own study.
Okay, so 200 hours is also spanned across
12 months, that's right. Yeah.
And also in case you happen to miss one of the classes on the weekend,
Yeah.
so the option to cover up is through online uploaded resources?
Yes. Yeah. So everything will be uploaded. So you'll have the videos. Even today, we'll share the video of this information session. We'll send you a link. And so there's always the option to come back to something, or if you miss it, you don't have to stress or worry, because you can come to those videos in your own time. And it's not, if you come to them in your own time, you don't have to dedicate 8 hours like you would if you're here in the studio, because they're in the, like it might be an hour and a half lecture, hour and a half practice. So you can do it, integrate it into life over that month. Yeah. Yep, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, well, we are going to have a little morning tea at the house, and so we'll show you a little bit of the property as well. So if you're going to be here for 12 months, to see where your home for yoga is going to be and what it's like. And I've made some cake and some chai. So I'm going to go and get that organised. And Danny and Trish will be here, so you can ask any questions of them without me here. So they'll give you a very honest appraisal or account. Ella also will give you a very honest appraisal. But Ella's here, so I think that says something in itself.
I think that's one of the things that I'm quite excited about repeating the course is how much the course has changed, but actually the environment. Coming into the studio is a beautiful experience, and just experiencing the bush and the creek and Mandy's house is just beautiful to come and be here. Just be.
Yeah, you can just come here and be, that's right. And we'll make you do yoga as well. All right, I am going to take this off and I will see you very soon. Do you want to come over here?
Oh, I don't like them. That's the only time I get.
Well, let's move that right out of the way. And you just need this little one here.
Is it magnet, does it?
Yeah, there's a magnet on the inside, so you can just...
Oh yeah, I see. Perfect. Awesome.
And I will get out of the way, and I'll see you soon. And over morning tea, there's the opportunity to just informally ask questions of any of us as well. And I'll see you up there very soon.
Well, now I'm sat in front of you all. Does anyone have any questions about being a student? Is there any further questions that you may have about the workload or how to incorporate it into your life? If there's any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them.
How heavy is the reading content?
Okay, so there is set reading, which you will need to read, but there's also recommended reading. Self-confessed book nerd over here, I read everything, but that's extensive, very extensive. So the reading component that you will need to complete, you could probably get away with reading the few chapters that they recommend that you read in a book, and then also the content that Mandy provides you. And that content we go through on the weekends together. So realistically, if you're not a reader, when I heard you ask about 10 hours a week, I don't think so, probably more like 10 hours a week, did you say? Yeah, probably I would say more like 3 or 4 hours a week would be realistic. Yeah, so it can be what you want it to be. For me, I absorbed everything, and I love reading, and I'm very fast at reading, so I did read all the content, but it's not essential.
Yeah, I didn't read all the content, but in the year that I trained, I went overseas 3 times, and I was working pretty much full time, so I managed to get it done.
And I wasn't working, but I had 2 small children. So one son who was like still breastfed at night time, and yeah, so I did have 2 small children. I think my youngest was like 3 when I did the training. Yeah, so it can be done. It's all about time management, and we can talk you through that if you do have questions.
The other good thing with all the required reading is pretty much all of it is on PDF that you have access to, like a PDF library, so you don't actually have to buy any books, I don't think.
And I would say...
And some books you might want to, but you don't really have to buy any books.
And the required reading's quite minimal in terms of books. Most of the content will be provided to you in PDF format, and that's written by Mandy, and she'll reference the books that she's used, but because this training is created by Mandy, most of it is her work, and she'll reference things from books, but she'll, at the bottom of the PDF, there'll always be references as to where she got that content from. So if you want to explore further or you've got further questions, you have a resource that you can access. And if you don't have capacity to purchase those resources, we do have quite a few of them here, and as a fellow book nerd, I have all of them, so you can borrow them, or I can PDF scan or photocopy them for you as well, so that's an option.
For the sake of libraries.
I know you had a question.
Just on a personal level,
for you, and was it intense, and what ways did it affect your life, ripple out in your personal life?
Do you want to go first?
There is a lot of deep reflection, and there is a lot of embodiment of the work. And you can choose to look at it and dive really, really deep, or you can be superficial about it. But if you want to dive really deep, it can open up a lot of things and be quite transformative. And that's part of the reason you have a mentor, because when things start to challenge you, you've got someone who is there that you can refer to and talk to, and they're usually, contactable within 24 hours. Then you are supported through any transformative process.
For me, I would say it completely changed every aspect of my life. If you knew me before, which I don't think anybody, I do know a lot of you because I've taught you as students, but I don't think anyone here knew me before. Mandy did. I've been a student of Kookaburra for nearly 12 years now. So I've been coming for 12 years as a student. And yeah, it changed every aspect of my life. And at the time, I had 2 small children, so the financial commitment was a lot, and I vowed to myself that if I gave that money over, I would give my whole year to that course. And as an ADHD woman, it's probably one of the only times I've ever stuck to that. I tend to be pretty good at procrastination, but I really stuck to that and committed to myself, and in turn, that paid off in every way. For me, I realised yoga wasn't about what I do on the mat, because I always seen yoga as what I practiced on the mat when I came in here. But in actual fact, that's like the tip of the iceberg, and it's the unravelling, and it's the way that yoga trickles out into every aspect of your life. So the way you parent your children, the way you show up at work or show up with your partners, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's deeply transformative, but obviously there's work that needs to be done to access that transformation, but it's there, and there's support, mentors, Mandy, and if you need further support, we can direct you in other areas as well. Ella, do you want to speak about that for your experience?
What was the question? I got so carried away with it.
How intense did you find the process on a personal level?
When I was doing the course, I was still working, so I hadn't kind of got around to retiring. Last 11, but it was a bit intense, but it was definitely manageable, and I probably didn't fully commit to it at the very beginning. I mean, it was a bit hard because we did have 40 plus people in here. I had been here when we had 60 plus, and that was too many. That was when we had the Moorheads here. It's up to you how much you take on. And I mean, if you're trying to fit in 1,000 other things in your life, like some people have been studying, raising kids, working full time, and doing another degree somewhere else. And I go, how can they do it then? Actually, I did that too. So it's much easier, I think, if you can keep up to speed with the minimum work that you've got to do as you go through. Because I have done other yoga teacher courses where you got behind in the assignments and it was hard to catch up. But I mean, everything's different, and it's just geared to you and your mentor. So we didn't have the mentors when we went through, but now I think that's a good thing.
I would definitely suggest that if you commit to the course, you go in looking to complete the 500 hours and see where you land. Because if I wasn't lovingly pushed towards teaching, I would probably never have taught. And now it's like my life's work is what I want to do forever. So it's definitely something I would say, go in with a really open mind, go in with the intention of being open to what you will receive. And maybe it will be a more in-depth personal practice, but maybe it will be that you want to share yoga in a certain capacity that resonates for you with others.
When I enrolled in the 500 hours, but I had no intention of teaching, none at all. And as the course progressed, it was like, yeah, I really need to do this. I really need to teach this.
It's when you teach that you really learn. And those of you that have done other qualifications, it's like, I did the first yoga teacher training course. It was all by correspondence from my priest. And I got through it really easy. And then I was in front of a yoga class teaching. And that's when I had to really learn. Because you learn by teaching. Those of you who've done anything. So,
And as you go through, there's little workshops where you do small teaching groups so that you'll gradually build up to the ability to teach to a class.
and the course has changed a lot, so that's great too. Everything that's happened in each course, Mandy's learned and integrated into what I'm looking forward to doing now.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
Yeah.
So with the anatomy module, so is this part of an assessment as well at the end? So
The anatomy will take place, I think it's 6 live sessions, Mandy was saying, and there'll be homework which you'll need to hand in to the anatomy teacher. It's all pretty self-explanatory and there's not really a pass or fail. There's a final assessment for anatomy, and that will, if it's the same as my group, so don't quote me, but we had a final exam where we had to fill out a questionnaire, much like the quiz that we do here in studio, and it's handed to the teacher via PDF. She's over East. So it's really essentially just questions so that she has a firm understanding that you know roughly about the human body and how it works and functions. But it's not difficult. Yeah.
It's not, you have to do it to complete the course, but it's not, then you're not tested on it in the yoga side of it. It's its own little module with its own little test.
And I will say, you do
She's
learn
very good.
bones and muscles and things, which I will be honest, a lot of it I have not retained, but you don't necessarily need to retain all that to teach great yoga, but you do need to have a foundational understanding of the human body and how it works and adaptations that you might provide for students if there's injury or if there's other concerns like contraindications, perhaps pregnancy or wrist issues, whatever it might be. You'll learn that through the anatomy. So it's not necessarily about learning the names of every bone or muscle in the body. Maybe you would like to geek out on all that anatomy, which is absolutely fine too. But if not, it's really just to give you an understanding of the human body. Yeah.
And the one-on-one sessions with her are totally worth it.
They didn't have that when I was a student.
It keeps changing.
Yeah, so like...
I heard that and I was like,
Yeah,
what?
especially if you have an issue that affects your body in the way you move, you can have a practice that will help to either adjust it or fix it or improve it. I actually using her to help me with my foot.
and one more question, the last one.
go for it, it's fine.
So with the teaching, sometimes it happens that some people around you tell you that you can be a great teacher, you can be a good teacher, but you yourself know that, feel like you can't really face people. I can share my knowledge in terms of friends group, but I can't really face you in public and teach you as a teacher. So how is this course going to help imbibe that?
For me,
As
yeah.
you have gone through it.
I know we've had this discussion personally on the property before. For me, I had debilitating anxiety about speaking up here. I will be honest with you, and Mandy will attest to that because she's probably the only person that knew me back then that's present. And I think it's just about finding people who believe in you before you believe in yourself. You know, it's about having mentors, teachers, and also community around you, people who encourage you. And it's probably one of the first times in my life I've been surrounded by people who accept me for who I am, exactly as I am, and I've made the best friends being here in this community. So I would say be open to the possibility of sharing yoga. Maybe it doesn't end up being for you, but you'll be held and encouraged, and without that, I wouldn't be here teaching as I am, because, as I said, it was extremely debilitating. And I remember specifically saying to my friend who graduated with me that after my practicum that I would never, ever, ever teach again. And yet here I am, often teaching several classes a week here. So, yeah, I would say it's that self-belief, and that will happen through the carefully structured assignments as well as modules. So it's not, you don't just get slammed with all the information, it kind of gradually builds, which is the beauty of 12 months, because you can really integrate that into your life, into your personal practice at home, but also into the way you parent and live, and gradually that becomes who you are, and it's this quiet unraveling of all these things that were often given to us by other people. Be quiet, your voice isn't good, you can't sing, or sit down and stay still. You know, all the things that were given to us that aren't actually us, but they're piled on and we carry these labels. And for me, this process stripped all of those away one by one, and to the point where I can now sit here without anxiety.
I think too, also within the course, it starts off with you're in pairs, teach each other. And that's safe. And then it develops, and it's maybe teach 2 or 3, or you're going to teach a whole series, but you're going to teach only one piece of it. So the teaching side of it, you're gradually developing the size, so the anxiety to teach in front of everyone, you would just go and die. But when you're told it's just one person, you're still anxious, but you can do it. And then you start to overcome it, and then the group gets bigger.
On the other side of difficult things is growth, as I've learnt the hard and challenging way. And I know we've had this discussion, Upcar, about this, and I would say believe in yourself. And it is a process, and it doesn't just happen. It's easy to say that to somebody, but I've been where you are. And I know, I do deeply understand, and I think a lot of us who've experienced this course do understand where you're at and have been there. So all I can say is be open and receptive to it, because if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't be teaching. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Is there any other questions?
Yeah,
Yes.
how many years or amount of practice do you think you would have to manage this?
I don't think as Mandy said, that we have had some students who have struggled perhaps more than others who have had no experience in yoga whatsoever. But I think if you approach it with an open mind, it's not essential that you've had a whole lot of experience. Prior to doing this, I didn't have what I would call now a daily personal practice, so a sadhana, where I practice every day. I would go to yoga studios and do my yoga on the mat, and then I would leave. And then Wednesday night would come around and I'd go and do a class again. And I thought that was yoga. And while it is, it's also not the real work, because the real work happens off the mat, as I just said. So I don't think it's essential that you have a whole lot of experience. I think it is essential you know how your own body works and that you have experienced what it is to move in what we would define a yoga class. But yeah, as long as you're receptive and open to that, I don't think it's essential that you have a decade of practice behind you in order to not only benefit from the teachings, but also to teach. Yeah. Rob? Well, if that's it, I would like to finish with a little mantra, if that's okay. Because for me, sound is probably the closing of the yogic circle for me. There was always this gap, this area that kind of, I felt like I had yoga, but I didn't really have it. And for me, mantra has really closed the circle for me and created my, what I would describe as a whole practice. So if you need to wiggle or stand up or give your body a shake, just do so now, and I'll get to my harmonium, and then we'll sit or lay if you would like, and just come back to the pranavam together before we head up for morning tea. I recommend you don't leave until you've had it, because if you've not eaten morning tea here before, you probably will never leave. Tammy will attest, won't you, Tammy? Yeah, that's right. I hope she's made vegan custard. I hope she's listening when she's making it. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Goodo. Okay. So when you feel ready to, just bring your body to stillness. Sit nice and tall, or if you need to, lay down. And just feel your sit bones sat on the earth. Feel the natural curve of your spine. Feel the movement through the abdomen and the chest as you breathe in and out. Create a little length through the back of your neck. And draw your awareness to the center of your chest, your heart. For me, this is where the seed of all mantra comes. It's as though I begin singing the mantra, and then the mantra begins singing me. I lose time, I lose hours, actually. And this center of the chest is where our truest self resides. The energy that lives here, Ananda Shakti, bliss and joy, where we are enough, we have enough. This really is the essence of yoga. We'll chant the pranavam together for a few minutes, and we use the exhalation to vocalize the Om mantra. If chanting isn't for you today, or you wish to, you can hum instead. And by humming or chanting, it extends our exhalation. So our exhalation becomes longer. So not only do we join voices in sacred sound, but we also participate in pranayama. Prana, extension, breath, life force. Exhale all of the air in your lungs and take a slow, steady inhale to chant. voice falls silent, feel the resonance of the mantra as it continues to move through your body. The vibration of the pranavam, the beginning and end of all sound. Connecting you to your heart, to your truest self, to one another in community, and to all living beings. The sound of creation. Bringing the hands to the heart in what we call Anjali Mudra, prayer position. Fingertips touch each other, the outside edges of the palms. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, translating to mean, may all beings everywhere be happy, free, and at peace. And may the words, thoughts, and actions of all of our lives collectively contribute to this freedom and happiness for all. Take a slow and steady inhale, filling all of the lungs. Open the mouth and sigh the breath out. Namaste.